Biologically, what is the problem with FGM? We've seen people go to court and indeed argue that FGM is the same as undergoing male circumcision. What is the difference, and why is there such a focused attention on not allowing female genital mutilation where male circumcision is still acceptable?
There is no medical benefit for female circumcision. Some of it is very mild, and that is what is making some people feel like it is okay, because you just cut the clitoris. I want to believe that the way a human being is created, there is no part of the body that is not useful. So for sexual pleasure for women, I think the clitoris is important. So there's no reason why you should remove it if it is only for culture and for tradition, and it has no medical benefit. But that is not the way it is done in most communities. There are those who actually scoop the whole of the genitalia and then they sew it. So when that happens, even going for a short call is a problem. Giving birth is extremely traumatic, and even having sex for those girls, and I think that is the whole issue of that form of female circumcision. The man needs to know that he has actually been the one who made the tear. So it is completely sewn, and only a small part where you can have the urine and the menstrual period. So you can imagine the urinary tract infection, because the flow is not natural, it is obstructed, and the pain of having your first sexual encounter at the age of maybe 12-15 years, and then the pain of childbirth, where they have to cut again and then sew it again because it has to remain like that. It's not fair, and I don't think why we need to invest all that time and all that pain and all that emotion. It is, if you speak to the women who have gone through the FGM itself, the type 2, it is really, really painful. It has no benefit. For the male circumcision, even communities in Kenya that were not traditionally circumcising their men, it's a medical issue. It prevents the cleanliness of male. So it brings a lot of infections, STIs and all that. So it's recommended, but it's not compulsory. From the communities that don't practice, there is no problem with that if they don't want to practice. But it's a health issue, it's a hygiene issue.
The process in itself is just too painful. Actually, if you've ever witnessed the girls going through the cut, it's really so painful. You have to be held by a number of women for the cut to be done. So it's something that you never forget. It will always come back to you. You always remember that day and what happened. Then secondly, sometimes the conditions under which it is done, and there is no anesthesia, by the way, it's just the razor blade and they do the cut. So sometimes some girls, they bleed a lot, and there is no medical attention because some of them are far from hospitals. You have to really walk for long distances. And also, some of them do not want to report if there are such incidences because of the consequences. So sometimes girls really get other infections as a result of the cut that they had to go through. And unfortunately, a few girls sometimes lose their lives. So that is also a consequence of FGM.
You spoke about not just the Constitution, but in Kenya we have an anti-FGM Act. What would you rate as the success level of implementing this act on the ground and stopping this particular practice?
I would say we are not yet there. In terms of, if I can just put maybe a figure, a percentage, I think I would put us at 30%. 30% because the whole prevention issue does not lie with the law. It also lies with the implementers of the law, and also the resources that the government is able to allocate for implementation of that law. From experience with our projects like the one that Faith is handling and the one that is in Tharaka, we are doing very badly. Very badly because we came up with a law and did not train the enforcement officers, like the police. I know, like Plan International and the DPP's office, we've partnered to make sure that we are training the police on the anti-FGM law. In the gender office, you have gender officers who have now been tasked with the responsibility of handling FGM and child marriage in the areas where they are. Again, very good officers, but they have no clue of what they're supposed to be doing. You were just posted. So they were gender and youth officers. So it really is good that they have been given this responsibility, but we need to equip them with the skills that they need to deal with specific issues of FGM and child marriage, including understanding some of those laws and also knowing how to interact with the communities. And also we need to have the policy on FGM, on anti-FGM law, actually just finalized, approved by the cabinet and rolled out so that we can come up with an action plan. So we have a law, we have a policy, but the policy is not yet completed. So I can say that there's a lot of goodwill, even from government, but they are not resourcing the implementation of that law well enough. And they're not equipping the government officers charged with that responsibility. Like, if a policeman wants to make an arrest, we have like the Jurinjeke in Taraka. They will call us and say, yes, the chief has agreed to go with us, but there's no vehicle. He does not have the transport. And then the other thing is that, fine, he will go, the chief will go with his administration police, or the police officer will go, and you can even provide the transport because you know you're partners in that issue. And then after that, you have rescued a girl. You cannot put the girl in a police cell.
Yeah.
You cannot take the girl to the chief's home. You need a rescue center, which is another crisis. We don't have enough rescue centers which are good enough to hold the girls as we try to reconcile with the parents, and also allow them to continue with their normal life, like continue with education. So that becomes a problem. In Taraka, we take the girls to Embu. So you can imagine all the way from Meru to Embu, and you want to conduct a reconciliation. So the parent has to visit very many times, and they tell you, if you want me to go and talk to my daughter, and for this reconciliation, you fund me. The government will not be able to do that because there are so many of those cases. So we need to resource the implementation of the law. The law is good. Let's resource the implementation.
How do we get other community leaders on board, including MPs, governors, senators, people in public office, to speak out clearly and unequivocally towards the end of this practice?
I think it's a very important step to take in bringing everybody on board when it comes to the campaigns against FGM, because all these different players have different roles that they play within the community. And we have tried to bring everybody on board, the men, the women, and the political leaders, because for example, the political leaders really have a say in issues that are affecting their constituents. So we try as much as possible to have them participate in all our initiatives at the community level. We even reach out to them so that they can be able to support some of the girls at risk. For example, the MPs, the members of parliament, at the constituency level, they have the CDF fund. And with this fund, they can be able to support a number of girls, ensure that access education. So we reach out to them so that they can also be part and parcel of these campaigns on FGM.
How can we plug in to ensure that our sisters, our daughters, are not victimized, and that we too can support you and support them in living a fuller life? What can we do to plug in?
It's very important that women who have made it through without having gone through FGM, whether they belong to a community that practices FGM or not, just volunteer to mentor the girl child. Because if the girl child is not going through FGM, they are at risk of a teenage pregnancy, child marriage. Out of maybe their circumstances, poverty and all that. So I think we really need to empower the girl child to speak out, but also just to say no and to run away. And then we need to provide those safe spaces. I don't know how many of us can meet a girl who has genuinely run away from FGM and say, come and stay with me, or let me take you to the police station. You go to the police station and you record a statement, and the policeman tells you, I don't want to lock her up, and there's no cell for children, so can you keep her until tomorrow morning? How many people would be willing to do that? We need to step out of our comfort zone and know that a girl somewhere is suffering for a reason that she doesn't even understand, and reach out. Look for organizations that are seeking support to the girl child and just contribute online, and trust that that money is going to be put in good use, because actually it is put in good use.
And so perhaps on this day when we're celebrating love and showing love will be stepping out of your comfort zone, doing something for a girl who you may or may never meet, but who by your one single act could change not just a life, but could change a community. Because everyone deserves to have a full life and to experience love, don't they? Thank you for watching.